Ever since being relocated from Winnipeg to Phoenix in 1996, the Phoenix/Arizona Coyotes have been a kind of sour note on the NHL's list of franchises. After some decently attended first few years to start off their history, the Coyotes' attendance fell off behind the remainder of the league in the early 2000s, and then were plagued by even more troubles as for a while the team was left without an owner and basically were a gimmick franchise that the NHL was struggling to keep afloat, basically keeping the team in Arizona for several years without an owner, hoping that an ownership group could buy the team and keep them in Phoenix. Now, the NHL's ownership of the Coyotes gave us the Wayne Gretzky coaching era, which was famously terrible, as Wayne Gretzky is not at all remembered as a coach for good reason, but that is just a perfect example of the type of gimmicky stuff that the NHL has attempted to keep the Arizona Coyotes relevant. Now, since the end of the NHL owning the team era, the team actually had some good seasons in the early 2010s, made a Western Conference final, had some great goaltending in Brizgalov and Mike Smith carry the team, had Shane Doan retire as a Coyote, being a lifelong member of that organization, had some star players such as Oliver Ekman-Larsson and some exciting young players come up through the ranks, but more often than not, they are not a playoff team, and they've never, when they've made it into the playoffs, been able to turn that into any sort of consistent success. And as such, the fan attendance and financial backing behind the team has dwindled. And that led us to 2021, where at the end of the year, it seemed things all came to a head as the Coyotes were accused of being $1.3 million behind on rent payments to play in Gila River Arena, and following that debacle were kicked out of the stadium with their lease not being renewed for this season. And so with no home for this season, the Coyotes were in trouble. And then they came up with this solution: the brand new Arizona State University Arena, Mullet Arena. Now, don't get me wrong, Mullet Arena is a beautiful state-of-the-art facility. It is a great hockey arena, except for the fact that it is a 5,000 capacity arena for an NHL team. For comparison, when the Winnipeg Jets moved back to Winnipeg from Atlanta, at their current capacity of just over 15,000, Gary Bettman stated that that arena size was a problem and that they better sell out every single game or else there would be problems. So after that, to turn around and say Arizona playing in a 5,000 seat arena is fine, no problem, is a little hypocritical. Now, the Coyotes are Gary Bettman's baby. It was his idea to explore the NHL moving into untraditional markets for hockey, and in some cases like Vegas and Dallas, it's worked, and even Tampa, it's worked, but in other cases it has not, and Arizona is one of those where it has not. And this new arena is a problem on many aspects. Now, yes, people say that it's going to be a good atmosphere, and it probably will be. A 5,000 seater arena to see an NHL game in that sort of environment would be cool once or twice, but to have a team consistently playing their game in, game out, it's going to get old and lose the novelty probably by the end of October. And to make up for the fact that they can only sell 5,000 seats a game, the ticket prices are looking very Toronto-like. And now, if everyone's saying it's going to be a great environment, just look at a regular season game in Toronto at the Arcana Center, or I guess formerly Arcana Center, now the Scotiabank Arena. It gets pretty quiet in there, and I mean, yeah, it makes sense. People who are paying that much money to go see a Toronto Maple Leafs regular season game usually aren't the type of people going crazy. There's a reason why in soccer and in MLS, the supporter sections are the cheapest tickets. The people who go crazy chanting and cheering the whole game usually aren't the type of people paying over $100 a ticket. Now, people also said that, oh, at that arena, in Mullet Arena, it's going to be full of Arizona students. They're going to bring the atmosphere up, of Arizona State University students. And yeah, but they're spending the tickets for over $100. No university student is going to spend $100 plus to go to a game. Maybe a select few will once, but the average university student is barely going to spend $50 to go see a game. Over $100, it's not going to happen. In addition, contextually for this arena, this is the 4th smallest arena in NHL history in terms of seating capacity. And size-wise, at 5,000 or less people, this is a size of an arena that the NHL have not seen since the early 1930s. This arena was normal 90 years ago. Now, in the 70s, there were some 7,000 seat arenas, but those were only for 2 years before new expansion teams moved into properly sized arenas for the NHL. And I mean, yes, it is the plan for the Arizona Coyotes to build a new arena in Tempe and have a proper 16,000 plus seat arena, actually quite near where the Arizona State University arena is. However, that arena building is not as set and done as I think most people think it is. The city council in Tempe just passed in June that they would look more into it and consider talking to the Arizona Coyotes about it. But it's not approved yet, and any groundbreaking is going to happen even further into the future. So as of right now, the plan for the Coyotes is to play in this arena for at least the next 3 seasons. The planned opening, the earliest best case scenario opening for their new arena in Tempe is 2026, which means even though they originally said that 3 years is the goal time to be in this arena, the 2026 planned opening at best means that we're looking at already 4 seasons at this Mullet Arena for the Arizona Coyotes, and any delays on that front means we're looking at 5, 6, 7 seasons potentially at a 5,000 capacity arena. I feel like most people were okay with this in the context of a 1 or 2 year thing, but once you start looking at the fact that this could very feasibly be half a decade, it starts getting questionable, especially considering the fact that there is a state-of-the-art, fully built NHL-sized arena just sitting in Quebec City. Like, what's going on there? And at 5,000 capacity, you're looking at a full sellout having less attendance for an NHL game than half the teams in the AHL and about a quarter of the teams in the ECHL. But let's say they survive 4 or 5 years at Mullet Arena. Like, say they make enough money to stay afloat and they get into their new Tempe arena for 2026, 2027, and things are all nice and dandy. You still then have a team that's reputation in the Phoenix area isn't very good. It's a team that still has a reputation of not being a very good team. By the time 2026 rolls around and they're in the new arena, it's a team that will have, if they don't make another significant playoff run, will have a reputation of a team that's been around for 30 years and made the conference finals 1 time. Just getting the new arena doesn't fix all the problems that the team has had for years now. It just sure moves them into a better location, which will definitely be a slight attendance boost. Sure, moving them into a better location will help. Having them in a brand new state-of-the-art facility will help. But in the end of the day, when it comes to sports, and especially when it comes to sports teams in non-traditional markets, success is the biggest measure of fan attendance. And so even if they get into the new arena on time and it's a beautiful state-of-the-art arena and the location is brilliant, if the on-ice performance isn't up to snuff and the team still is losing like they have for years, it's not going to matter after a season or 2. It's just going to go back to, oh yeah, the Arizona Coyotes suck and no one's going to want to go see them. So can the NHL actually work in Arizona? I think that the NHL can work anywhere. I think pretty much any sport can work anywhere in any major population center. There's always going to be a market for whatever sport wherever you go. The question is, can the Coyotes still work in Arizona? And at this point, it's just too much of a history of not being good and of being a cheap team. Unlike the Coyotes are not known as a good team. The Golden Knights worked so well in Vegas because they made the Stanley Cup Finals in their first season. They came out of the gate as a very competitive team, and especially as a team that no one expected to be as good as they ended up being. And just being a contender for a couple seasons right off the bat and making the playoffs regularly was huge for them. If the Coyotes can start regularly getting back into the playoffs, things can change, maybe, but this is a team that needs a couple playoff seasons and needs a couple runs in those seasons to really just recapture any attention that they have in their local market. So in conclusion, Mullet Arena is too small. They're in there too long for the size that it is. It's just going to hurt the reputation of the team for a couple of years. Even if they get in the new newer arena. It'll work if the team gets good, but the team needs to get good pretty much as soon as they move into that new arena, or else we're going to fall back into the same issues. Maybe hockey can work in Arizona, but maybe it's not the Coyotes. This might be a situation where they need to leave for a little bit, and then a new team has to come back in their place, and maybe then it could work. But I think in the end, the Arizona Coyotes have been in Phoenix for almost 30 years now, and we're basically back to square one. It's just hasn't worked for 30 years. And at some point, you have to sit down and just really consider, at what point is it a lost cause? And at what point can you say, okay, let's take a break here. We'll move the team somewhere else, try somewhere else, and then maybe in 10, 15 years we can reevaluate and come back. So, there you have it. That is for this video. As always, if you'd like to hit like or see more of my stuff, hit subscribe, follow me on Twitter, link is down below in the description, and I will see you next time.